talking.
Oh.
Hello, I'm Linda Grimes, and welcome to the June 3rd Armchair Artwalk Tour. Seems kind of amazing that we've already made it to June 3rd, and we made it through the pandemic, more or less. I want to welcome everybody that's here. It's good to see you, Linda Alexander and Karina. Just a few words of housekeeping. If you have questions, my friend Larson here, put them in the chat and he'll tell me what you're asking, so we cover that. Tonight we are featuring 3 guests: Harold Green, Virginia Breuersma, and Jocelyn and Dawn. And next slide. So those are our guests tonight, and we're really happy. And the reason we called this Pride Month is that we're really proud that these people have worked or done things in San Pedro. So, and I think you'll be proud of them too when you see the quality of their work. Next slide. So I have the extreme pleasure to introduce Bill Bush. Bill is the wife of one of our board members, Inez Bush. And from 2009 to 2015, Bill launched and published Art Week LA. And that's one of the reasons I asked him to join us, because he has an encyclopedic knowledge of the arts and artists. And he'll be interviewing Harold tonight. And I'm hoping that he'll be a regular feature of this program, so that I have a co-host. So I really appreciate that you're here. The Inez and Bill also had a marketing firm called Gramercy Partners. And I think that's when I met you.
I think so, yes.
Well,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, thank you so much for having me be part of this. I'm really honored. And I appreciate the fact that you say I have an encyclopedic knowledge, since I think those are, pretty outdated at this point. So it tells you how old I am. But
we both are.
Yes. But more than the knowledge, I like to think I have a curiosity of the art world, and so I'm really excited about being here, because I get to learn a lot about not only San Pedro, but the art scene there, and the many artists that call it home or call it their workplace.
Well, thank you. You're also a ballroom dancer, oddly enough. So you're totally immersed in the art, and raised 2 artists, which is amazing.
Yes, yes. So we figure, why have doctors and lawyers when you can have artists living at home with you?
One of them.
Well, yeah.
I'm just waiting for my next slide.
Oh, okay.
So we met today with the Chamber of Commerce and the PBID and members of the Arts and Cultural District, who, we've been doing a series of stakeholder meetings to define and design the First Thursday Art Walk. The Art Walk in November will be 24 years old, which is pretty amazing that anything in San Pedro that has gone that long, it's sort of artistic anarchy. And so we were planning how to bring it back, and I'm happy to report, unless something really horrible happens and we don't lose the tier system, but after June 15th, we should know that things will be open more widely. And so we're planning a soft opening in August for the August First Thursday. And then we're planning to kick off LA's Fleet Week, which is one of the larger fleet weeks in the country. We're starting that with the live art walk. So stay tuned. We'll be putting together a press release and getting organized to let everybody know that we're coming back, and we're happy to do that. Next slide. So my first guest is Virginia Breuersma, and Virginia and I met in late 2018, and in the summer of 2019, Virginia was among her many talents is a teaching artist, and she helped us put together the Sirens mural, which is about 80 feet long and 15 feet high, and it was designed as a community engagement project we put together a workshop that the 12 students that were in the workshop, Virginia gave them background not only on color, perspective, but we also looked at a lot of murals because I said, I really don't want to see lighthouses and bridges. And I'm so grateful for you and your talent and your ability to bring 12 disparate people together and come up with with an amazing mural. So Virginia, how did you know that you wanted to be an artist?
Well, can you hear me okay?
I
Know that I'm
can.
unmuted. Good. You know, I was always interested in creative things growing up. Music was always a big part of my family life. My mom is a musician. She's a pianist. I have an older brother. My dad sings. We did a lot of family musical things. And I thought maybe I would be a musician until I was always given solos in performances. And I have terrible stage fright when it comes to playing an instrument. And I had other interests like writing, and I started getting into drawing. I had a neighbor who did a lot of pencil drawings in elementary school, and she was my best friend. And so I got into sort of copying her and spending a lot of time drawing, and that really fostered my interest in the visual arts. And I decided to pursue that as I got older, and in high school took private lessons, decided I want to go to art school, decided I was gonna try to make a go of it and have a career as an artist. And I've never changed my mind about that. I'm still working at having a career as an artist.
That's awesome. And where did you go to school?
Savannah College of Art and Design in Georgia.
Amazing school. Amazing school.
Yeah.
And so you have two sides to your life, or multiple sides. You also have something called the artist office. Do you want to talk about that?
Sure. I started the artist office a couple of years ago. It was in around 2018 also, actually. And I've always supported myself with different day jobs. I've done all kinds of things, but mainly a lot of administrative jobs. And I am good at that type of work, and I apply it to my practice as an artist in terms of applying for grants, looking for opportunities, sort of the business side of things, not so much sales, but what I call the office work of being an artist, and making sure that you are ready to go when an exhibition, someone reaches out to you, and having all of your materials up to date. And I noticed a lot of my artist friends really struggling with those types of tasks. So I've started a business to help with that type of work, so that when there's an opportunity like a grant or a residency, I can help my artist peers apply for those opportunities and push their careers forward without waiting for invitations. So it's really focused on what can we do ourselves to build a sustainable art career.
That's so important because so many artists are mostly in their creative brain and not in their analytical brain. And so it's interesting that you're in both.
Yeah.
And then you can guide people through that. So yeah, it's really, really interesting. Do you want to talk about the workshop that we did and how you found that work? Because it was very different than what you normally do, or am I not saying that right?
Well, I have done teaching on and off throughout since I've been a teenager. I've done volunteer work a lot of times involving teaching kids. When I was in college, I was the student organizer for our student-led volunteer mural. We called it a mural team. We weren't big on sports at art school, but we had a mural team. And from that point, I've always loved having that component of being able to combine, if I've learned something, to be able to show someone else how to do it and bring people into the fold so that they can do it themselves and have some sort of collaborative community type of experience. I love doing that with art making, and I've tried to incorporate that into my own practice by finding ways to collaborate. And so when I saw the mural opportunity, it had been a long time since I had really focused on murals. I took sort of a break for several years, but it's something I've wanted to get back into. So when I saw the call that they were looking for a teaching artist, I thought that fit a lot of my experience and my interests of being able to combine my enthusiasm for this collaborative art making and my experience with painting murals and being able to teach younger people, high schoolers, and people of all ages, but it was geared towards high schoolers. How to, just think big, because I mean, to me, it was always the idea of being able to complete a giant painting on a huge wall is ambitious, and it's a huge accomplishment. And I think for young people especially, it's gives them a real sense of accomplishment that I thought was pretty exciting for them.
And also, I really admired your ability to take 12 people that never met each other before. And they did a lot, we gave them sketchbooks. And so they did a lot of sketching and honor their contributions, as well as juggling that with the needs of the property owner, Yolanda Regalado. And so there's some symbols hidden in the mural that have special meaning to Yolanda and her husband, Ray. And then 36 people, more people showed up to paint the mural, and you were so good at like making everybody feel included and giving them something to do. And at the end of it, they all had such a wonderful sense of accomplishment. So kudos to you. And I want to do it again as soon as I can raise the money.
It was so much fun. I mean, it was
Exhausting.
It was exhausting, and I did not know, there were stages where it was uncertain. It felt uncertain, if we would get it done or how to manage that many people. But ultimately, I think you and I were on the same page that we wanted it to feel like it was a community effort. So everyone felt ownership of the project. It wasn't my mural. It wasn't your mural. It was a community mural. And so anything to foster that sense of engagement and ownership was, I know for both of us, it was a top priority.
Yeah, that was really wonderful. So you have some of your work that you're going to show us today?
I do. Let me see here if this is the right screen to share. Do you see my screen with my
Yes, I
slide
do.
up? Okay.
Yes.
So I thought I'm just gonna scan through these quickly because I know we're on a schedule, but I just thought I would give everyone a little, since I have this very bland background and we're not out in someone's studio or at a gallery, I wanted to just give you a little picture into my studio. So here, if in normal times, you'd all be coming by and I'd be painting in my studio here. And
This is in downtown LA, right?
it's in downtown LA. I have a space inside a shared warehouse building where there are a bunch of artists. And so I am a messy worker. I generally have lots of stuff flying around. And during the pandemic, when I started working remotely and didn't have to go into my office job, I was super productive and started working on the image on the right are these works on paper that I started having a blast making. And you can see this is just a shot. I was making a ton of them. And what I ended up doing was, so this is all recent work I'm going to show you just since pandemic. I've always made line drawings to work out the figures in my work. I've been focusing on these figures at poolsides, mostly nighttime scenes. So I thought I'd show you a little bit of process more than content, but you can see here I have a drawing, a line drawing that I did, and then in the upper left, I put that, I did that's a painting on paper, and I wanted to see what it would look like with color, and I was so pleased with the result and turned it into a large painting, which is the one on the right, and that's about 4 feet by 5 feet in scale. So this sort of reveals my process lately of actually working from drawings that move into paintings. And here are
This is 1 second. Are all of your work, are they all that large?
No, I
Okay.
work in all scales. Yeah.
Okay.
You'll see a picture of my studio when I get down. You'll be able to see the different range.
Okay.
So here you see a drawing that I did in the upper left. In the middle, I transferred it onto this beautiful watercolor paper and started to put some wash of color behind it because I really wanted to start keeping some of the line quality, the contour drawing in the paintings. And these were sort of a method that I was figuring out how to do that. So then I would go in back and forth with colored pencil and acrylic paint, which is water-based. I said watercolor, but it's a kind of washy acrylic paint. And so the final piece is on the right there, and you can sort of see how it progressed along. And I've been making a bunch of those. And what I've also found is that these I call them studies, but they're also completed pieces. These works on paper start to inform other paintings, and you'll see that I may take one drawing and be really happy with a section of it, and then see what it looks like in other compositions and in oil paint or on a larger canvas. And so some of them become little bitty pieces of paper, like this 3 by 4 inches one, and then some of them become larger paintings. And so here's a moment in my studio when I was working on a bunch of them. So it's a little hard to tell the scale, but the largest piece in the middle is quite large. I think it's probably about 55 inches by 84, 90, something like that.
Wow.
So I do try to work in all scales so that I have small things going, medium things going, and large scale paintings all happening at the same time, and experimenting with what works at the different scales. I also just thought this would be fun. I do a lot of reading and research in connection to my work. So all the paintings that I just showed you, I've been thinking about the body at leisure and how to represent the human figure in spaces of vulnerability and exposure. And if you think about being at a pool and you're in your bathing suit and perhaps you're more exposed than you usually are when you're walking around in your everyday clothes, and what that feeling is, and what also imagining a space could be where you feel really comfortable and you can really rest and enjoy a space of pleasure and leisure, like lounging in a hot tub or a swimming pool. So that's what I've been focusing on. And I've been doing all of this reading that's so interesting about leisure practices and the human body and what's acceptable in our society, and how the human form has been represented in art, of course. So this is my book recommendation list.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because there's so much that goes into a painting, so much more than just the painting, the end result. And so, many artists like you have this process where they're informing the work, and it's nice that you shared what you were looking at while you were doing these paintings.
Yeah, it helps me to look at it too and remember that there's bigger conversations. It's not just I have this interest, but it's so fun to find the larger conversations. So we already talked a little bit about the mural, and I'm sure most of you have all seen it. But just in case, so this is the mural that we're talking about, and I have a shot with a handful of the workers, volunteer painters and muralists who came by. But I wanted to, the next slide I'll show you, just to give you an idea so we went through the same process that I just showed you with my own artwork, where we did the class all together came up with drawings, which we basically created a composite. I helped to create an overall design, but it was a composite of sketches and drawings that were completed in the class. So you can see that beautiful face and the signature eye. That's the primary focal point of our mural was from a drawing by our intern and young artist Harmony Vasquez, who's local in San Pedro. So I thought you might enjoy seeing again, like how a small drawing can be transformed into this 80 by 17 foot gigantic mural.
And Harmony is the daughter of Ray and Cora Vasquez. And Ray and Cora have the Gallery Azul gallery on around the corner on 8th and Pacific. So she comes from a family of artists.
Yeah, it was great having her. And Ray helped out too.
Mm-hmm.
So we already talked about the artist's office. I put it in my slideshow in case we just to mention it. And another component that has expanded during the pandemic is an advocacy component of my work, both as an artist myself and through the artist's office. And I've been collaborating with an attorney who does contract law for artists to draft free customizable contracts for artists to use that we're putting on this website, artistcontract.com, as a way to further support artist practice and give them the tools they need to be professional and have security and protect their work, and have an education component around it. So I have all of these different additional components that support my work as an artist. Part of it comes from me, after many, many years working at having a career as an artist and seeing the hurdles that I have faced and that a lot of artists face, and trying to address some of those issues and build support systems for artists. And here's all of my further contact information. If anyone wants to stay in touch or find out about any of these projects, if you all are on Instagram, these are my Instagram accounts and my website, which has a lot more work than I showed you now, but I thought it'd be fun to kind of show the behind the scenes process.
Well, that's excellent. And, having looked at a lot of your work and gone through the mural process, I can see how the mural painting, because part of your task was to take all of the sketches from the 12 students in the workshop and come up with the Sirens mural that we then showed to the class and the property owner. And so I can see how we made the right choice and how that influences the larger mural. And I want to thank you, because it was one of the best things I think we've ever done as the Arts District, and I really appreciate your dedication and your artistry. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I mean, I feel like I have a family for life now in San Pedro and with you, and I'm so excited for future collaborations, and I'm glad that we can stay in touch like this.
Well, thank you. So we're going to move on and introduce Bill, and he's going to be talking to Harold Green.
Well, thank you. So I met Harold again. I think for some of you that may not have been on a little bit earlier, I'm kind of an outsider to San Pedro. I've been there many times in the work that I've done, but I am becoming more and more familiar, and that's what I'm here to do, is to learn more about the art and artists in San Pedro. And Harold and I met last week, and I think, unfortunately, we're only going to have about 10 or 15 minutes to talk, Harold, because you and I
That's
think
okay.
we could talk for hours about your work.
Yes.
I love your work,
Right.
and to call you a custom furniture artisan really belies what you do. I was thinking about how your work is sculptural. You take something hard and undefined, and you create some beautiful work from it. And work that is not only functional, but also is very beautiful. And as a result, you've been featured in galleries nationally, museums, even on television. What I think I'm so inspired by is your own personal inspiration, that you're inspired by the wood itself, the narrative of that wood, and the history or the story of the tree that it came from, or the place that it came from. In fact, I was kind of thinking that, while there are many people that we know that were born with a silver spoon in their hand, I think you must have been born with like a piece of Italian cypress in your hand, because this isn't just something that you came upon. You've been doing this for a very long time. And maybe you could tell us a little bit about when you first realized that this was something that you loved doing and you wanted to continue to do.
Well, thanks, Bill. I started, it goes way back to when I was a little boy. I think maybe 3 or 4 years old. I lived in Harbor City, near Harbor Lake, or we called it Bixby Slough. There was a lumber factory, or a factory that made something. I don't know what they made, but they had a bin of scraps, and me and my brother would go up to the bin. It was maybe just 3 blocks away, and we'd pick up scraps of wood, and we'd make things out of the scraps of wood. We made little cars, we made swords, bows and arrows. We made all kinds of stuff. My brother kind of led the way on that, but it seemed to a really natural thing to make your own toys. And so fast forward to when I was in the 7th grade.
Yes.
I had a wood shop, and I loved wood shop. I took to it pretty naturally. It felt like I had always been there. And so I did quite well, but I also did well in all the other things that go with that. I did well with the they had a crafts class where there was design involved. There was a drafting, which I did quite well with. I did well in metal shop, and I still use some of those skills today. All of the classes all of the things that support the practice of making furniture.
Well, you gained your skills there, or your knowledge of the tools and the materials. But what had you not go on the path of becoming a carpenter and building houses, and instead you're off and building these wonderfully designed furniture pieces and other things?
Well, it was kind of out of necessity. When I had my first apartment, when I was in my early 20s, I didn't have any furniture. And so I began making stuff. I just said, "Oh, I'll make a chair. I'll make a little table," and they came out pretty good. And I had very rudimentary tools. I mean, just a couple of tools, maybe one chisel, maybe a hand plane, a jigsaw. And things came out pretty good. And my friends saw what I was making. My family saw what I was making, and they'd say, "Hey, can you make me something?" So that's how I made the transition. Over a period of several years, I began making more and more things for people. Around 1980, around 1979,
Yes.
after a stint in the fire department, me and my mom decided to open a gallery called the Green Line Gallery. It's where Rex's Cafe is now. And so I had my furniture there. We were a little bit ahead of the curve. We served espresso and French pastry, and we had poetry readings and live music and stuff like that. Okay, and it was, and we had art openings for artists like Mural and Jesus Gutierrez, and it was quite a time. So people began to get to know my work by coming in that gallery at first, and then as my circle of friends and acquaintances got wider, so did my clients. They were mostly in San Pedro. They were the people who I socialized with, the people who I ran with. I was a long distance runner, and some of my first clients were fellow runners. Okay, so I had quite a few. I began doing fairs around the city. I did the San Pedro Street Fair. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but I did that, several years in a row. I began doing shows that were further out, like some of the art furnishing shows, the Santa Monica Crafts Market. Then began applying for grants and things like that, and have done kind of a really wide variety of work because of my circle began widening much more.
So most of your work then was more custom made, or did you start off by making things that you wanted to make, that and were they smaller items like boxes and things like that, or were they furniture like chairs?
Aside from making things for myself, the things that people asked me to make were practical things for them. And so I've only done custom work for the most part. Maybe once or twice a year, I have time to make something like a spec piece, something that I plan to put in a gallery, something I want to put in my portfolio, something like that. But almost all of my work is custom work for clients, maybe 95%. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh, it does. It does. And just because I know we'll talk about some of your work and what you've done as we're viewing your work. Why don't we move on, and why don't we take a look at some of your work?
Sure.
And then we'll spend some time talking about it.
Okay. And let's see. Where is he? I know I need your help here. Okay.
Okay, so you want to go back? Hit your arrow to go back. Remember your arrows that you wanted to go back?
Those don't work.
Okay, so we're going to go here.
Okay.
In what he called his she shed, and this is his wife.
Can you-
sorry. Okay, we're
So
there.
can you see my screen now?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No?
Okay,
Okay.
did you hit share?
I did. So,
So you're going to close that.
let me close this.
No, you're closing yourself. Stop. Go
Okay.
here. Go to those three dots.
Okay.
Hit close present.
Okay.
That's it. Okay, stop
Okay.
presenting. Okay, now you're going
That's
to
Okay.
you're going to go to your share button.
Okay,
So
so-
go to your Zoom.
Okay, so this is not Zoom.
No,
So,
no, no.
okay,
Don't
so,
hit that.
all right.
You're going to go to your Zoom account. So you see where the Zoom link is?
Okay.
Where's your that
is
one? Hit
is
that one.
Zoom?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Zoom.
Okay.
Okay, now ask them if they're still. Oh, you know what you're going to do? Hold on.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
There you go. Now you're going to
Okay.
go right there.
There we go.
Okay. And then you're going to go right there.
All right. There we go. Here we go. All right. We are here. Okay. You should be able to see my screen now.
Loading right now.
Yes. All right. Okay, so you can see this first slide. This is Warehouse 57 right here in San Pedro. I did some work in there for the Port of Los Angeles. I built the tables and benches for the downtown waterfront project. This was 50,000 square feet, and I did my best to use as much as possible of this space. We had four 1-ton tables, which wound up being spread out about halfway through the space. It took some really heavy equipment to move them and install them. It was a great project. I worked with a company called EDA, and I also worked with Sully Miller, which is a major contractor. And it was a great experience working with all of those groups, including the Port of LA.
Why don't you? I think you have that work, right? Yeah. Is this it?
Okay, so this is the work here. These are the tables and benches, Douglas fir. On each of the tables, there were these signal flags that were inlaid into the edges, and all the signal flags denoted important figures in the founding of the port. You can spell out almost any letter, any name or word using specific signal flags that represent letters. And so each table had the names of people like, Cabrillo and, John T. Gaffey and all of these people who were involved in bringing the port to San Pedro.
Now, is there any? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting strange
Go ahead.
there. Is there any reason why you chose that wood in particular, and what did it take to go about finding that wood?
Well, most of the project was somewhat historical. Most of the boats that were coming into the harbor, the ships that were coming into the harbor, were made out of Douglas fir. It was also one of the primary woods that came through the harbor that was sent to all parts of Southern California. Some of the early pictures of the waterfront were these huge stacks of Douglas fir that spread out all the way throughout Southern California, and for building houses and other buildings. So that's why I used Douglas fir.
Yeah, and just so that I understand better. Sorry about that. That's naturally the approach that you take, is it not?
Yes. Well, I try to pick a wood that's most suitable for the project. But one of my favorite things is to use urban timber. And that is wood that's from street trees or backyard trees. There's always trees that are being cut down for whatever reason, or trees that fall down in storms. And so early on, I discovered that there was this great resource of material. Now you have to mill it, and you have to dry it, and you may have to wait several years before you can use it. But the variety of trees in the Los Angeles area, it's literally a botanic garden. And so when I was a young man, I'd be driving down the street, and I would be looking at the trees, and I would be naming the trees from memory. I got to be able to recognize almost every type of a tree that grows in Southern California. I also had to gain some knowledge of whether they were useful as furniture or whether they maybe were just better for firewood. But I am part of a group called the Box Collective that we all strive to use as much urban timber, as much salvaged wood as possible in our furniture. And so that's been something that's been running through what I do for almost 40 years now.
I see. Let's see some more of your work. That's very
Yes. So this is a project in Santa Monica, the Library Ale House. It is on Main Street in Old Santa Monica. This is an example of FSC wood. That means the Forest Stewardship Council. They certify wood that's sustainable. And so this particular wood is called Nara, and it's a great exterior wood. It's strong and relatively lightweight compared to its size, and it made for a great project. It was like a timber framed house where there's mortise and tenons and dovetails and everything. It's made more like a piece of furniture than it is a typical storefront building.
beautiful.
This is a restoration that I did. This is the Japanese bridge at Descanso Gardens. And Descanso Gardens was just recently, in fact, in April, placed on the National Register of Historic Places. And so that was quite an honor. I restored the bridge about 6 years ago because it was completely falling apart. It was a historical restoration, so I had to save as much of the original bridge as possible. The whole thing was disassembled, and many of the components I rebuilt and replaced. And so, and all the while I was being supervised by a company that specialized in historical restorations.
Wow.
So this was a great project. It was done for their 50th anniversary, which was a great celebration. This is a client for a client in Palos Verdes. It's a outdoor tea house, and you can see the water dragon that forms the end of the beam. So this is a big curved beam which fit in with the building regulations. They said you can build anything as long as you only have one post in the ground. You don't need a permit. And so I designed this beam. There's a foundation which is 1,500 pounds of concrete going 4 feet deep in the ground. I had my friend weld a bracket for it, a stainless steel bracket. And it was a fantastic project. It's all hand-shaped copper for the roof, lots of carving, and all the interior is traditional Japanese joinery.
Very nice, very nice. So you work with more than just wood. In fact, I think you design your own poles for certain furniture and.
Yes, right, right. I design hardware, primarily bronze, using the lost wax process. I work with a foundry that pours my bronzes for me. But I learned how to patina bronze to get the colors that I want out of it. I really like shifting gears and moving into metalwork occasionally. In this case, I collaborated with a specialist to make the roof, which is almost like a bas relief.
Mhm.
We developed some completely never used techniques to shape the metal. It was really quite a fun project. Then all the furniture is all teak and Port Orford cedar, which are great woods for exterior.
Very nice.
So this is a typical interior project. Just a nice.
Harold,
Yes.
I'm going to jump in there just for a minute because I have a feeling we're running close to our time if we haven't already passed it. And I'd like you to maybe go through the next couple and get to the one final.
I'm going to show you I'm going to show you the chairs.
Okay, great.
I make instruments, of course, but here are the chairs.
Great.
Okay.
Now it's the lounge, the chaise lounge that has really become a very important piece for you right now, has it not?
Yes, yeah. The chaise lounge is my signature piece. The lounge is made out of salvage wood. It is in this case, it is cedar of Lebanon. It was a tree that blew down in a big storm in 2012, and I was lucky enough to get a part of that tree and create this chaise lounge. It's the prototype of a series of 100 chaise lounges that are plantation teak. So this is kind of a culmination of my design ideals to try to get the best out of form and function. To make something that's really comfortable and something that's really elegant at the same time.
Very nice. Well, I know everyone is enjoying. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I know. Yes, somebody just put up gorgeous work. Not only is your work beautiful, but I think what really inspires me so much about your work is how you dare to go off in different directions and try something new and different, that you just don't simply stick with, one form, one shape, and that you go with, as you said before, you're kind of inspired by the wood itself.
Yes.
And I think the last thing I wanted to throw in, and I hate to sound a little disjointed here, but I love the bass guitar.
Yes.
And I know you have that music background. And so I
Yes.
just wanted to give you 1 minute to quickly tell us about your success in the music world.
Well, I go way back in San Pedro. I don't know how long you've been around, but me and my brother formed a group called Magnum. And Magnum was an R&B and jazz group. Well, we recorded an album which has legs. We sold almost no copies of it, but it is one of the biggest collector's items in R&B. The albums are really hot. They sell whenever they're available all over the world for as much as $800. They're collected in almost every country, and I get calls from people from England, and I just got a call from some people in Portland who were very interested in the album. It's been followed quite a bit. It was one of the songs is in the latest Muhammad Ali documentary on HBO. It's music is a big part of my life. If I wasn't building furniture, I would be a full-time musician.
Well, it doesn't surprise me. I think what I hear from many artists, and I bet Virginia feels the same way, is that artists are so inspired by music. Many of them, sit there and play music, and they feel the music, and the music shows up in the work that they do. And obviously, your work is very lyrical, and I speak for us all. We really love your work, and thank you so much for being with us here today.
Thank you.
Thank you both. You can stop sharing your screen, Harold.
Okay. Here we go. All right.
Hang on. And next slide. That was it.
Oh, sorry.
So I just want to make an appeal here. In a couple weeks, we would have lost our wonderful board member, Pat Carroll. She died on her 81st birthday. And if you like this work and you believe in it and you have some disposable income, and then you could give us a donation to support this, we'd really appreciate it. I'm so bad at this. And so we really appreciate that you're all here, and we really like doing this work and giving the community a view of the artist's work. But it's not talking artist to artist. It's more like talking artist talking to let more people into their work. So we really appreciate this opportunity to do this. And if you can donate, we really, no donation is too small, let's just say. So next slide. So I want to introduce Dawn and Jocelyn and Dawn. And I met Jocelyn when she was the music director at the Grand Vision Foundation. So Jocelyn and Dawn, how did you two meet?
Hi. So we
Hi.
met actually in Venice. We were both musicians in Venice and met through mutual friends. But then we discovered we were both from Montana. So we had a lot in common right from the beginning. Oops.
Sorry.
I never realized until you sent me your bio that Dawn was worked on The Simpsons. How was that? Are you still there?
Well, it was and is. I started in 1989, so I'm like 32nd season now as editor of the show. It's great. It's a great bunch of people, and we've been through, basically the whole history of film, of animation, production, just in the show itself. So, it's great work. It's a nice balance to where am able to express myself musically with Jocelyn, and kind of feel like I have a nice balanced artist life.
Well, you guys are amazing. Jocelyn, you also are in another group called Adawe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a group I founded a couple decades ago, actually. And we do festivals around the country, less so this last year. Not much.
It's
going
all
on,
women,
but we
right? It's all women.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's 7 women of the drum and voice. So I founded that group after a year and a half of study in West Africa, and as a way to bring the inspiration that I found there of women making music together and also supporting each other in community, and form a group like that in Los Angeles. And so we've been together ever since I was in college, and it's a fabulous group. We do a lot of different kinds of performance.
And when you were at Grand Vision, you were the education director, and I remember going to the LA Opera in the Warner Grand Theater amongst 1,200 kids, and many of them, all of them, you'd gone into their classroom and met them, and I can't remember the word that you said to get them to pay attention, but you really taught them to be better audiences. Can you remind me what the word was?
Yes, and this is a word that I learned in Ghana, West Africa, and it's ago, and it's something that the storyteller would say to get the attention of the community or of the kids, and everybody else would say ame. And ago is are you ready? And then everybody would say ame, which meant yes, I'm ready. And it's a really nice call and response to focus the energy and all be kind of in community together.
And it was really critical work, selfishly speaking, to teach kids about in this case, opera and music, and there was more to the program, and but I won't go into that. And that 1,200 kids in an auditorium where they would be squirming, but they were riveted by you and the opera itself. So that was really quite an accomplishment, and I want to go back to those days when, because the building, the theater at Warner Grand she really loved having that many cheerful voices in the theater.
Yeah, we actually, I think, had almost 1,500. We filled the place completely.
Yes, it was
with
wonderful.
Students and teachers. And they've kept it going during the pandemic with virtual programming. It's not quite the same, but definitely still keeping that going so that the students can know that there's a world of music out there waiting for them. And hopefully sooner rather than later, we'll be able to get back to it.
Just a little detail on what Meet the Music and Roots of Music program are.
Yeah, so Grand Vision Foundation on 6th Street in San Pedro, they do wonderful programs with 4th and 5th graders in 8 schools in the immediate area, and it's growing. And one of the programs, Roots of Music, introduces students to music from around the world through live performance, and as well as classroom lessons. And my group, Adawe, is part of that program. So twice a year we've performed for 800 4th graders and teach them about rhythm and steady beats and about music from Africa and from America and African American spirituals, and teach them about the resilience of people and how music changes when culture changes, and then they get to learn music and perform it themselves. So it's really a great program. Again, it was kept going virtually throughout the pandemic, and we'll see how things open up next year.
Yeah, well, we're hoping it does, because it's an amazing program. And there's also, they're teaching recorders to young people too, which was really amazing. So
Exactly.
you have some things that you started this group with Dawn, and we want to talk about that and then play something.
Absolutely. So Dawn and I have been together for many years, and we have made music together all this time, but in different configurations and a lot of improvisation. But this project was really special because starting in 2017, we started to do our own original music as a duo without a band to back us up, just something sustainable that we could do together. And we converted our garage into a home studio, recorded an album last year, which we're really proud of, and it got to be on independent radio around the country, which was really fun. And this is music that's really just from our heart. It's rooted in our love of nature, our kind of soul searching, our quest for a better world, whatever that might mean, you know, whether that's personal or social or environmental. And so now we're writing new music again and recording some new things. And we wanted to start off with a new piece, which is about kind of reopening and shaking the dust off.
And this one is brand new.
Brand
like
new.
days
I think
old.
this is a world premiere.
Yeah, this is
Ta-da!
it's days old. So
Ta-da.
we're still teaching our hands how to do this and everything. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Are we ready to go?
So, okay, here we go.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's been a long, cold winter, but I don't feel the chill inside. I've been adding to my armor till it's thicker than an elephant's hide. The springtime comes with gentle fingers, trying to tempt me outside of my door. I'm not ready to be in roses, but I might want a little bit more. I want to spread my arms open. I want to shake the dust off my heart. If this rusty part is not broken, maybe a spark. Maybe we can light a spark. 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 I've been down to the shadows where the water runs deep and still. No more dancing with my devils, though they tug at the edge of my will. There is sunshine on the mountains I can see from my safe and warm. It can change quick as the seasons. Ain't no rain without a storm. I wanna spread my arms open. I wanna shake the dust off my heart. If this rusty part is not broken, maybe we can still find a spark. Maybe we can light a spark. 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 I wanna spread my arms open. I wanna shake the dust off my heart. If this rusty part is not broken, maybe we can still find a spark. Maybe we can light a spark. 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 Oh, light a spark. Light a spark. Oh, light a spark.
That was gorgeous. And I really love watching how this has evolved, because I think I was at that first concert that you did at the Annex. So you guys are amazing. I wonder how much art's going to come out of this pandemic, like this amazing song that you wrote. Do you
Thank you.
have another piece that you want to play?
Sure. Yeah, so yeah, we can do this one. This is for, I got to go to Hollywood High many years ago and met a lot of interesting characters in that neck of the woods, and a lot of people who are angels, even if they've had trouble in their lives or their dreams didn't turn out the way that they thought they would. And this song is for all of them. One, two, da, da, She was just 21 when she first pulled up in this city. Dust on her boots and stars shining bright in her eyes. She took the bus to the end of the line, ended up under the Hollywood sign. Free from that town, free to live with no compromise. Daddy, don't you weep for your Hollywood angel. She's not the first, she's not the last of her kind. She's seen the dust and the rust of the glittering gold mine. But it's still
phenomenal. I love how you're telling a story in the way that you put the in the lyrics and the way that you put the music together. And it's been such an honor to watch how this has progressed. And so if people want to get a copy of the album, which is called Soar, right? How do they do that? Sorry.
On our website. Yeah. Actually, I'll put the link in the chat
Perfect.
to our website. So we have our CDs there. We have some T-shirts. We have some other. We have some other CDs as well from our past projects. But yeah, it's really easy. We'll turn them out. We'll put them in the mail to you right away. It's also online on all of the streaming platforms. And so, of course, you're welcome to stream it on iTunes. But it's nice to get the hard copy of the CD, and we'll sign it for you, too.
Yes,
Or
I
we'll
have a
send it
copy.
as a gift to somebody else. Yeah, you have one.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. It's been an honor to present you and hear your music in this intimate setting. And I hope to see you live someday.
Me too.
Yeah, we hope to see you too. And thanks for having us.
Big
And
hug.
it was also really nice to see the art, the work of the other artists on the show tonight. Just such talented people, and
So beautiful.
And we both saw the front of the Library Ale House and said, "Oh yeah, I know that one."
Well, we live in an amazing town, so thank you so much.
We do.
So next slide. So we're wrapping up today, and again, we do this in memory of Pat Carroll, who did the Art Walk Tours live for so many years. And next slide. Next month, I just want to thank all the guests here today, Harold Green, Jocelyn and Dawn, Virginia, and some of the helpers behind the scenes, Cheryl, I wouldn't be doing this without Larson, and Bill Bush, and the board of the San Pedro Waterfront Arts District. Next slide. So next month, we're going to be presenting 4 artists. Eric Johnson, I don't know if many of you know him. He's a sculptor. And he told me the other day that he hasn't had his work presented that much. So it's really going to be fun to talk to him. He's a good talker. Karina Massengill, who's on the call with us, or was on the call with us. Ben Jackal, who is started the art gallery on the Battleship Iowa, and a blues musician by the name of Chad Bishop. So thank you for joining us. I think if the guests could stay, everybody else can, you're free to roam the planet. And we thank you for being here, and we'll see you next month.
I'm not gonna end it, right?
You can end it.
Oh, you want me to?
Yeah.
I don't actually use it. You're the master.
I ended the Facebook thing.
Oh, but yeah, if you want to end the Zoom, you gotta do it. You're in charge of that.
I did. I thought I did.
Wait, did you want to wait and talk with the?
Yes.
Oh, you okay? So I'll just kick everybody else out.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
That was so wonderful to talk to you and get, kind of a behind the scenes of what you all do. So thank you so much for doing this. Did you have any questions for each other?
You're a great host, Linda. Great host.
It doesn't feel like it sometimes. I'm like, I forgot to, what? Yeah.
No. Really, really nice. Nice job. And great questions, Bill. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yes. We should meet in person.
I would love
Yes, we
that.
should.
Great. I've been vaccinated, so, coffee at Sirens, huh?
Yeah.
You're local, right? You're right here in San Pedro, huh?
I'm up in El Segundo, but it's
Oh, you're in El Segundo.
My son's in Long Beach, so I'm down in that area a lot.
When you're down here, send me a message, okay?
I will. Thank you.
Great.
So thank you all, and thank you, Jocelyn and Dawn. It's like I said during the call that it's wonderful to see how the work has progressed. I remember the first concert you did, so thank you so much for being here. My bad, but we didn't get it all on Facebook, but some of it's there, and we recorded it off of Zoom, so I can share the recording when we're done.
Great.
So thank you so much, And Bill, I'll see you next month.
Thank you so much, Linda. I really appreciate it. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait. And